Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. We are back with Michael for our weekly crypto news. Michael has been busy over the platform pumping out all that alpha daily, and it's a pretty exciting time, Michael. As we've spoken about, I'll just show on screen here our risk on, risk off model, guys, that you'll find under the data tab. We were fully deployed, everything was looking good, and we've hit record highs, and altcoins look like they're finally going to have a bit of an outperformance as well.
Yeah, it's always fun to come on once we've just had a Bitcoin all-time high since our last convo. So yeah, positive vibes all around.
Let's dive into all this news. And before you do, I'll just quickly mention one of our partners, Uptrade, guys. So many people are still having trouble with banks and everything. So for large orders, guys, uptrade.au, they're one of our partners and sponsors of the channel. Fantastic service with no issues getting large amounts in and out, with all the banks continuing to crack down on all the exchanges and everything. It's just crazy these days.
Well, as mentioned, not only Bitcoin all-time high, I think we touched 123, I think I saw.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, just crazy numbers. Hey, like even back a year ago when I was saying, "Oh, we're going to get to high 100s," like I believe it, but do I actually believe it? And but it's yeah, it's incredible that when you think at the start of the cycle we broke the 100K mark, and now who knows where this goes.
Yeah.
But finally, as you've mentioned, we've seen the rotation into alts.
Yeah, and crazy,
Finally.
as you said, when I think it was 2022 when I did that video when the cycle bottomed, when we just dipped under 20K, and I drew those squiggles on saying, target should be around over 100K, maybe 130, 150, and then we'll go from there depending on if the cycle matures. And yeah, here we are. So it's just awesome to see, and everyone's a lot happier when it's a sea of green.
Yep. And when you look at ETH up 20% on the week, XRP, and there's some big ones as well. Like we'll touch on them shortly, but some other real massive numbers. I mean, we're going to talk about Stellar in a second, but even like things like Hedera. I mean, this is all the ISO trade, like all of these compliant blockchains. So we'll dive in. I mean, like record ETF flows, obviously that makes a lot of sense, seeing we've just had all-time high. But I find it interesting that TradFi has no problem buying the top. They just seem to not care. So, I mean, that's great for everyone who's already a Bitcoin holder and has been here for a while. But yeah, everyone's loving all-time highs.
Yeah, I guess as a TradFi, they're not trying to pick a bottom or anything as a trader. They're looking around at everything we've been talking about, whether it's macro stuff or in the evil elites. And it's like, where is the best place to park your money with the way the world's going? And it's probably Bitcoin or gold, and continues to be.
I don't know if you've been watching any, you probably don't watch much sort of mainstream media, but because of the business that I run, I try and keep abreast of what everyone's saying. And you can see it almost with disdain. Some of these like finance report editors like talking about Bitcoin all-time high. Like you can see them gritting their teeth as they talk about it. It's glorious.
Yeah,
Um,
love it.
But this is an interesting website here. It's strategicreserve.xyz, which is tracking all of the ETH that's now going into strategic reserves. And this number is like, up, up, up. And so you can see now that the amount of ETH that's getting taken out of circulation. And this is all mostly driven and attached to this sort of SBET Sharplink Gaming, which is the new Ethereum version of MicroStrategy run by Joe Lubin, who was one of the original founders of Ethereum.
Yes.
And so again, they're just going to keep buying and they're going to keep buying, and it's just following this whole Michael Saylor strategy.
Yeah, we covered this early on when the news first broke and talked about how this was going to be the catalyst for ETH, and now this is playing out too.
Playing that beautifully. I've got a few VC friends in the space that, and so they sort of talking about how it's traditionally no one's been investing in anything, and then the whole sort of like TradFi strategic reserve, publicly traded company type sort of investment was the new meta. Everyone wanted to invest into like stocks that were having crypto reserves. But we finally have seen an uptick in sort of new ICO investment. So ICOdrops.com is an interesting one. It shows sort of the new startup type sort of projects that have just launched. And now I'm not encouraging anybody to go and dabble in this space. Like proceed at caution because chances are 98% of these go to zero.
Mm.
But it's just interesting to see that there are projects right now that are actually having some sort of success in raising money. Because the last 48 months, this has been almost zero. Like there's been almost no money coming into any of this type of stuff.
Yeah, but like we said, even with our research, it's so few and far between where we see something now that's like that's really interesting or that has a lot of upside. So much stuff is, it's already saturated or it's overvalued. So you really have to pick out the quality.
Yep. So yeah, as mentioned earlier, we'll get rid of that ad. XLM 70% in a week. Now, for those that don't know, XLM is a fork of Ripple originally of XRP, but they've just had their own upgrade and it was received very well, as you can tell by a price explosion.
Yeah, and last year I sort of changed my tune a little bit, saying, "Look, the Trump administration looks like they're going to be pretty pro crypto, and all this talk about the banks having to be ISO compliant, and that includes XRP, XLM, XDC is another one. We covered a heap in that episode, as you mentioned, Hedera, all these different coins that are going to benefit from that, and again, we're seeing that play out, which is great. So obviously not for those that are of the true decentralized ethos or anything like that, but if banks and financial systems are going to start using these and they're going to hold a heap of tokens, again, that's still kind of the path you want to see as a Ripple holder or XLM holder is that are these companies that use it going to have to hold a lot of these tokens rather than just use the network and their systems to transfer money to get the big pumps and the big gains.
And you can see with these well capitalized projects. So I've mentioned Monad here a couple of times. Again, yet to be released token, but very, very well funded. It's another one of these EVM, like hyper fast Solana speed EVM chains. And they've acquired Portal because they're trying to get into this stablecoin space. So this is meant to launch like at the end of this quarter, so sort of Q3. But these guys have got squillions of dollars, and now they're getting into the stablecoin space as well. So I would be following the Monad journey if you're not already, because I wouldn't be surprised if this like launches in the top 20, probably. It's
Yeah.
this is going to be a very interesting one, and all of its ecosystem around it. There's going to be huge money getting thrown around. Tornado Cash. So a little bit of like, I guess, polarizing news here that the Tornado Cash guys who originally like sort of were those pioneers of that privacy type sort of tech as face trial.
Yeah, and I think we're the first video on YouTube to talk about Tornado Cash and how you can use it to break that chain of privacy on a public blockchain. And it gets back to this question of is privacy a basic human right? And then it was used for money laundering or they claim terrorist activity or whatever, but then it gets to another question of if a developer writes a bit of code, should they be guilty for these types of things? I wish them all the best, and I hope this trial goes their way. But it's crazy that these guys that just wrote code and probably thought they weren't doing anything too wrong, with the true crypto ethos of privacy and decentralization, could now face a long time in prison.
Well, that was the argument that code was speech and it should be free speech in the US. We'll
Yeah.
see what happens. So the other one I get we've mentioned multiple times here before is Hyperliquid, and so we know that they have been, probably the Solana of this cycle, where they're going to be around for multiple cycles now. I think they've got that sort of market share, and they're going to be around for, you know, a long time. But what they've done here is they've started to acquire other protocols. So they've acquired this Atlas protocol, and now coming out with even things like the Hyper EVM, where just making it more accessible. And effectively, what people can do now, they follow the Uniswap model where people can build their whole protocol with just the front end using the Hyperliquid backend. So I don't see these guys going anywhere. They're going to be around for a long time, and just diversifying away from that TradFi, like sort of Binance type sort of perps versus now the DeFi versions of it are being just as competitive. So
Yeah.
interesting in this space. All right. So this was one that which me and you were sending some messages back and forth with about the week. So Pump.Fun, they sold out in 12 minutes on their pre-sale. And then we flowed into $14 million of buybacks being completed. But I thought that the most interesting part about this was they had $5 million of liquidity, which for a $5 billion project, I think is 0.01%.
Well,
Um,
I think yeah. So I think after this, people started complaining that hey, you've raised at a $5 billion valuation and got 0.1% of liquidity that they increased it a tiny bit, but still. And the other thing was a lot of people stayed up in Australia here late into the night sent through multiple transactions, said all those transactions got approved, woke up in the morning to find that they didn't actually go through. So once again, a lot of people offside, and I think that's fallen 50% in price. And this is one that you and I said we're both avoiding.
Yep.
Maybe if it went down more or whatever, but still, it's a huge valuation, like we just spoke about. That it's I don't like chasing things that are already at these huge valuations because they can easily go down 90%. Yeah,
I think the best thing that can happen for Solana right now is that we move past this pump.fun era.
yeah.
So yeah. Uh Voltisig. So they've had a little bit of announcement here that the whitelist you need to resubmit for it.
Yeah, so for those that are following with JP's Voltisig wallet, if you haven't used it, check it out. It's the new wallet where you can pair 2 or 3 different devices to shard your key so that it's not just one private key where if you click on a link or someone hacks your email or whatever, and you get hacked and your wallets are drained, unless all 3 devices get hacked, this is a new wallet with that multiple protection. So, guys, if you want to invest in the upcoming token launch and sale and that type of thing, you do have to reconfirm your spot on the whitelist. And I think the plan is going to be something like 24 hours for the whitelist accounts to purchase, and then it'll go to the public stage. And then I think they were going to launch on Kraken, but they're looking for another exchange to launch that token on as well. But this all ties into the Thor chain bullish narrative and in wallet swaps, multi-chain, all that type of thing. So pretty excited about this one.
Yeah, so obviously exciting week. It's good to see that we're actually like, finally getting some bullish momentum. I do love the look of Ethereum at the moment. I think all signs are pointing to finally we might be back there. Bitcoin just has just been so strong. It's just unbelievable. Like in our wildest dreams, I didn't imagine this. But yeah, let's see the bit of an alt rotation.
Fantastic, guys. We'll head over to nuggetsnews.com.au for our free newsletter, all our premium research or our high net worth client services as well, which have been growing in popularity as the world goes crazy and people want to know how to protect their wealth, protect their data, and start to formulate a plan for the next few years to get out of certain regions around the world. So first Tuesday of every month, that high net worth investor call as well. But Michael, keep up the great work and we'll speak again next week. Cheers.